Daredevil episode 9, Speak of the Devil. Now, in this episode, we got to see the real, first day, really, of Fisk kind of outing himself as like this amazing philanthropist who wants to do nothing more than help the city, save Hell's Kitchen, and turn things around for its residents and make it a great, shining, glimmering community. And we see this from a lot of different sides. We see it from his side of things with stuff just constantly going wrong because of Matt kind of doing his nightly duties, and so we have him dealing with stuff with Nobu and trying to figure out how do we really stop the man in the mask. We get the small portion early on in the episode where we actually get everyone, including Ben, talking about Fisk and how things are gonna play out and how they should play out, what leads they have, the seemingly infinite amount of dead ends that they have. And then we get, unfortunately, later at the end of the episode, sort of a mourning period where Mrs. Cardenas is unfortunately killed off, and of course it's done by Fisk. And really all of that is just so that he can lead Matt to kind of doing what he does. He puts on the mask, which he hadn't done for a little while, actually, from the last episode. And he goes out, beats up a bunch of people. He finds the leads that he's supposed to find, and he falls into this trap where Nobu hires, he says like he knows a guy, but of course it ends up being Nobu himself. And they just fight it out. And I thought what they did in this episode with the fight was actually very interesting because they tend to change it up. They find ways to change it up because the first two episodes, it was like, here's the story and stuff, here's the fight. Episode 2, here's the story and stuff, here's the fight. And then episode 3, it might be like, well, here's the, maybe like it's in the middle of the episode, or it's a couple small fights, or maybe it's just several fights in general. And in this one, it was the first time they actually gave us the fight throughout the episode. It was a flash forward and flash back sort of thing, and that was actually very cool. And I believe it did start with the actual fight. If I go back a little and it doesn't screw up. I do believe it. Yeah, it started on the actual fight. So it starts with them like fighting each other, and it's like it's the man in the mask in all black, and then you have this random figure with like the chain blade thing in all red. So they're just going against each other, and Daredevil, Matt's getting his butt whooped really. Like he's getting cut all over the place. And I think in the second flash forward that they did was when he really got him, and he like wrapped the chain around him and it stuck into his side, and he like drags him across the ground with the hook in him and stuff. And it was just insane. He's like, Nobu was basically dodging everything. Like he got hit a couple times, but for the most part Matt was kind of losing that fight. Like a win's a win, but in a technicality sort of sense, if it went and people had to judge it, Matt would have definitely been the loser. He just gets cut in his back, like he had like 2 big cuts like this, basically like just bees. He got cut in the stomach, the hook goes in him. He's getting kicked and punched and junk. Like he did his flip whenever someone kind of gets him in like the arm grab, and he normally does the little flip, and he's like mid flip, and Nobu just comes in with a punch and just hits him while he's flipping in midair. And it's just insane. Like, it was a great fight scene. It was actually, like I said, very interesting how they did it. I actually would have loved to see it more as a whole fight, and that's just me because it always feels weird, I guess, for whatever reason, to me to see a fight get cut up, especially with the way they did it, where it was literally like the first, opening scene of the episode was the fight, and then there was like, 10 minutes in between, or something like that. And then you have the fight, and then, 10 or so minutes. And then you have the ending fight scene. But it was still definitely well done. And all the stuff in between was also really great. So it's not like it was boring because they split up or anything. It was still really fun. And, something I forgot to mention, he's been using the sticks a lot. Like, ever since he got them from Stick. And he was like, you keep those because you're going to need them. It's kind of been funny watching him use the sticks, and it was like it's the first little step, and he uses them like crazy, of course, and they help with his accuracy because he can throw stuff with accuracy, and he's totally fine. And he totally saves his own life in this episode, although he does drop them when he does that, or at least he kind of leaves them behind, I should say, actually, because he throws it and then he just takes off. And when he jumped through the window, that was a cool scene, and I was very surprised by that. He jumps through the window and he just lands right in the water, and like the blood kind of comes off of him and stuff. And visually it was a cool looking scene. But I thought it was nice. Like the fight was pretty interesting, and he gets Nobu, and I knew that's how they were gonna do it when he was on the ground and the stuff was pouring and everything. I'm like, it's got to be like gasoline or something that's flammable, of course. And it was really cool. Like he does, and I love what Matt did when he did like a fake flip up, and he made Nobu kind of swing a little early. So he did like the fake flip upwards so that he would actually have enough time to get back up and grab the stick. And he sets him on fire. They just leave Nobu to burn for like the rest of the episode too. But he ultimately wins that fight. Then he gets his first real confrontation with Fisk, which is insane, or at least physical fighting wise confrontation. And that was another great thing they did. They had those two, I don't want to call them opposite confrontations, but really they were more parallel than opposite. And so they have these two confrontations go on in this one episode where they're a part of him trying to figure out how do we get info on Fisk, how do we deal with this guy, how do we know more about him and get info on him. And obviously he has a bit of a bigger reason to get info on Fisk. But it was fun. It was cool to have that sort of parallel where in the beginning he goes and he meets Vanessa and stuff, and he has and this is something I noticed a while ago, he has this thing where as calm as he is, like he's always like the calm whenever they're talking about legal matters and stuff, and he's like, he's trying to keep people from going out and getting hurt and really doing what he does, because admittedly not everyone has the same set of skills. But when he's not in those situations, he gets really angry. Like it's like people that do these illegal things, he'll get so angry. Like when Fisk was walking in and he had the angriest look on his face too, which I thought was kind of funny. But he's walking into the to the gala, and he gets really angry. He like tightens his hands on his cane, and he just gets so mad. And it's just, I think he did that actually later in the episode, but he like clenches his fist in that scene, and he gets so angry whenever like something happens with the villains, when he sees them outside of being the man in the mask. He gets like this insane rage, and he doesn't really seem to control himself like he probably should, admittedly. And it was a good scene. I enjoyed it. I thought the way he kind of did things, the way he played things, wasn't 100% perfect, because when he leaves out, Fisk has like the craziest look on his face. Like he looks really mad, like he knows something's up with this random guy who came into the gala. Excuse me. It's really late. It's like really late. It's actually 3:53. I just always end up watching these so late, but I watch one episode, it's like I could probably watch 3, and I shouldn't at all. But it was really cool. And then we have the end of the episode, the final confrontation, where it was unfair. Like I was like, if he wasn't all cut up and dug into, this would be a totally different fight. Granted, it's Fisk, so him having his insane strength, which I thought they showed very well when he threw Matt against the desk, and they kind of had the scene where he was basically punching down and you couldn't see Matt. I really love that scene, because he would have like these huge, like a huge swing, and he would lift all the way up and punch all the way down, and he just, he did that, I believe, like 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times, and I thought he was really just going to do like a hammer fist, but he ends up like picking him up. But it was a great scene. It was very visceral, and it's like he picks him up, he breaks the desk, he tosses him on the desk and stuff, and before all that, he's like, thanks for helping out with Nobu, because he was becoming a nuisance. And he has this sincerity about what he did and how he ordered this older woman to get murdered, really in order to take care of Nobu. It wasn't really to get Matt there. That was just like, well, one of these two is gonna get killed off, and that's all there is to it. So even if this woman is dead, if Nobu wins, we get rid of the mask, and if the mask wins, then despite the fact that we ended up killing this woman, we at least get rid of Nobu because he's becoming a big issue for us. So it was admittedly a win-win for Fisk, and that's ultimately exactly what happened. And he has this sincerity about it, like I mentioned, but ultimately he still did it. Whether his hand was forced or not, he did it. He chose to do it because he wants his illegal business to keep on running, and he's more important than this random woman that he doesn't know, who really he was just kind of trying to push out anyway, her as well as everyone else inside the building. But it was a great episode. During the fight, it was also really cool that Nobu kind of mentioned how Matt learned from Stick, and he's like, old man really taught you well in our ways and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool that they actually had this real big connection, and he knew, like, based on his skills, he's like, okay, you know this, so I know who you were working with, and he knew from the whole Black Sky thing. So it was just interesting that he kind of called him out on it, like, oh, you've really been trained well by that old man, and you may not be with him, but you are definitely a warrior. So I thought that was a nice little connection that he had, and it shows how tied in Stick is with sort of the Japanese. I don't even know if they're Yakuza, really. They could be like this whole other sort of mystical thing. He was, in that weird scene in the last episode. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but I thought it was a cool little connection between the characters. And then, of course, we have the very end of this episode, which was something I wasn't sure if they were going to do that this season, because it's, with it being a Netflix show, it kind of throws a lot of conventions right out the window. It's like, I don't know what we're going to get. Also, the fact that Daredevil is like the first in a series of 4 different shows as far as the Street Defenders for like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's a lot of different crazy stuff going on with this show, and it's like, I don't know if they're gonna have certain typical conventions where it's like, what happened at the end with Flocky finding out Matt's identity. In a normal TV show, that probably would have been like season 3, season 2, halfway through season 2, maybe season 3. That's when the friends would find out, except for like Flash or something, and that's they kind of threw it right out the window, and that might just be because they had already had some stuff established with Arrow, as far as like the DC TV shows and stuff. But for Daredevil, it was really different, and honestly, I don't know if we're even getting a season 2. Like, I don't know if they're doing season 1 and then season 2, or if they're doing season 1 and then it's going to be like the Luke Cage show is put out on Netflix, and then maybe we get season 2, and then a year after that they do the 3rd show, and then I don't know how they're going to do it if all this stuff is getting filmed at the same time, and all these different aspects of it. So I wasn't sure how fast that was going to happen. I figured it had to happen at some point, but and I guess that's kind of why it happened so soon, is because it's a Netflix show. Things are definitely different than, oh, we have really, really high ratings, we can save that really big reveal to, season 2 or season 3, like I mentioned. So everything's kind of just like, boom, here it is. And that's how the show's really been in general, because it's like they knew how few episodes they have left. And really, I believe I only have 3 episodes left. I have 4 episodes left. There are only 13 episodes. So, only 13 episodes of content. Once again, I wasn't sure how it was going to happen, or if it was going to happen this season. But it was definitely amazing. I definitely loved it. I thought it was really cool to have this reveal. And I don't know how things are, how long it's going to take for Matt to recover. I have to assume that what's going to happen is he'll be in the house. He'll recover like a little bit. He'll regain consciousness. And then, after the whole Foggy freaking out and yelling at him, possibly, he will probably be like, just call this number, this is who I've been calling on this burner phone, and Claire will probably come to him, because she knows where he lives now. So she'll probably, come into the episode and be like, oh, hey, you helped out at the hospital and stuff after the explosion. And unfortunately, she'll find out that Mrs. Cardenas died as well. But I'm excited for it. I don't know if Foggy will be keeping the secret, if he'll tell Karen, or maybe even Ben, or it just slips out, or what's gonna happen. The next episode is called Hunter versus Murdoch. So, or Nelson versus Murdoch. Sorry. So I'm not 100% sure if they're really gonna be copacetic with everything that's happening, because Foggy's certainly been on the side of the police, and the masks. This guy's a masked villain who's a terrorist, blowing up things and shooting cops and stuff. So I don't know if he's really gonna listen to Matt. Especially not in the episode right after he finds out. But I definitely can't wait to see. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And what I want to know is, what do you guys think about the reveal at the end? Did you expect it to happen this season? Did you, are you upset that it happened this season? Would you have preferred that he kept that identity secret and maybe it was only revealed to Claire because now technically it is two separate people? Or, does it not matter? Is it like, well, either way, you think it will just end up going down the same road or what? Because I feel like it'll change things, but especially with it only being like 4 episodes left, it certainly can't change that much. Although they do manage to do that fairly well. They do skip like the perfect amount of time when they need to, and it's like, they write it in a way that it really works. Like, well, they skipped 3 or 4 days, but I genuinely feel like I kind of, they caught me up really quick. So I'm okay with it. I'm definitely excited to see how that plays out and who does end up finding out as a consequence of Foggy knowing, or if it kind of just goes with, down the route of Foggy knows and then he meets Claire, and so they both keep the secret. And maybe season 2 we kind of deal with that, or season 3 we deal with other people coming into the fold, and maybe that's around the time when they'll already be introducing the other superheroes with Luke Cage and everybody else, and them actually physically teaming up in like one episode or something or whatever. But definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.